Chapter 20 is on chemical texture surfaces. Today we are going to learn about permanent waving, relaxing, and curl reforming. We need to know how chemical surfaces affect the structure of our hair. The cuticle, which is the tough outer laying of our hair, surrounds the inner layers and protects them from damage. The cortex is the middle layer of the hair and is located beneath the cuticle, and it is responsible for the hair's strength and the elasticity. The medulla is the innermost layer of hair, often called the pith or the core, and it does not play a role in restructuring or missing in some types of hair altogether. pH means potential hydrogen, and it represents the quantity of hydrogen ions and measures the acidity or alkalinity of a substance. The pH scale has a range of 0 to 14, 7 being neutral. Below 7 is acid, above 7 is alkaline, and our hair is 4.5 to 5.5 on the pH scale. Building blocks of our hair consist of amino acids, which are compounds made of carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, and sulfur. We have peptide, sometimes called N bonds. These are chemical bonds that join amino acids together end to end in long chains to form what we call polypeptide chains. Polypeptide chains are formed by peptide bonds that are linked together. Keratin proteins make up about 97% of the hair structure, and then we have side bonds, which are disulfide, salt, and hydrogen bonds that cross-link the polypeptide chains together. So when you think about this, think about a ladder. The two side pieces are your polypeptide chains, the rungs that go from side to side that we stand or we go up the ladder on are what we call our side bonds. Now, keratin proteins make up a long coil chain of amino acids linked together end to end like beads by N bonds. In the side bonds, the disulfide bond forms when sulfur atoms and two adjacent protein chains are joined, only broken by chemicals, and they account for 1/3 of the hair's strength. Your salt bonds are relatively weak physical bonds, resulting from an attraction between negative and positive electrical charges. They can be broken by water and account for about 1/3 of the hair's strength. And then we have hydrogen bonds. These are weak physical bonds resulting from an attraction between opposite electrical charges and is easily broken by water and account for 1/3 of the hair's strength. So when we think about the side bonds, we have our hydrogen bonds, we have our salt bonds that are both physical bonds, but our disulfide is the chemical bond. We have to break the disulfide bond in order to change or rearrange the structure of the hair. In physical change, when we're performing a permanent wave, the physical change is wrapping the hair on perm rods. The chemical change is caused by processing with waving solution and neutralizer. Alkaline solutions often soften and swell the hair and open the cuticle, while acid solutions result in far less swelling of the hair than the alkaline solution. Once waving lotion has entered the cortex, it breaks down the disulfide bond through a chemical reaction called reduction. Reduction involves either the addition of hydrogen or the removal of oxygen. Thioglycolic acid is a colorless liquid that is strong, has an unpleasant odor, and is the most common reducing agent in permanent wave solutions. Ammonium thioglycolate, called ATG, is the addition of ammonia to thioglycolic acid, producing ATG, which is alkaline and is the active ingredient or reducing agent in alkaline perms. There are all different types of perms on the market today. We have alkaline waves or cold waves. We have acid waves, true acid waves, exothermic waves and components, endothermic waves, ammonia-free waves, thiol-free waves, and low pH waves. There are so many different types of waves. Please make sure that you look at the perm type chart that's located in this chapter in Milady to see what the pH of each of these perms is. When we're processing a perm, the processing time should be determined by the strength of the solution, not necessarily how long the perm is processed. Most processing takes 5 to 10 minutes. Additional time allows the polypeptide chains to shift into their new configuration. If we over-process hair, it does not mean overly curly. If too many disulfide bonds are broken, the hair is too weak to hold that firm curl. It has a weak curl or may be completely straight, and hair at the scalp is stronger than at the ends, so you may get curl in the scalp area but be straight on the ends. Under-processed hair means too few disulfide bonds are broken, and the hair will not be sufficiently softened and will not hold the desired curl. Hair at the scalp is not as curly as the ends, so processing time is required. Thio neutralization stops the action of the waving solution and rebuilds the hair into its new curly form. It performs two functions. It deactivates any waving lotion that was accidentally left in the hair, and it rebuilds the broken disulfide bonds into its new shape. When you're neutralizing, you will rinse the hair for 5 minutes. You will towel blot thoroughly but gently. If directed, you're going to apply a pre-neutralizing conditioner to strengthen the hair. You will rinse with warm water. Always use a warm water stream. Avoid pressure on the rods while rinsing. Rinse the most fragile areas first. Thoroughly rinse the nape area and the rod bottoms, and rinse for the recommended time, which is normally at least 5 minutes. You want to smell the hair and continue rinsing if necessary. Gently blot the hair with a towel. Check for excess moisture, especially in the nape, and adjust any loosens or drifted rods. Make sure that if your towel gets extremely wet while you're blotting, put that towel aside and grab another. Stage 2 of neutralization is the disulfide bonds are broken with hydrogen. Disulfide bonds are rebuilt, hydrogen bonds attract oxygen, water molecule is formed, water is removed, and the side bonds are reformed. Correct processing time is very important, so we want to make sure that we practice preliminary test curls. What is the expected result of the solution? Curl is expected from rods and wrapped. How much color will be removed from the process if the client has color-treated hair? Will the integrity of the hair be compromised? Did the hair break? Is it dry? Is it frizzy? And is the client satisfied with the shapes and hold of the hair? The preliminary test curl, which usually takes place about 5 minutes after the neutralization has started, is to make sure that the hair is processing the way it should. We have different types of rods. We have concave rods, which are smaller in the middle than on the ends. We have straight rods that are consistent over the entire diameter. We have soft bender rods that are about 12 inches long with equal diameter. They can be made of soft foam and take a variety of shapes. And then we have the loop or circle rods. These fasten to form a circle. These are usually used when we're doing spiral perms. End papers can be positioned in the hair several different ways. The double flat wrap, the single flat wrap, or the bookend wrap. Most instructors will start students off most of the time with the double flat wrap. When you're sectioning for a perm, you have panels. The size, shape, and direction of the panel varies from the type of wrapping pattern and the type and size of the tool used. Base sections are the subsections of the panel based on the size of the rod. There is on-base placement, off-base placement, and off-base placement. Base direction is the angle at which the tool is positioned and the directional wrap pattern, whether you wrap vertical or wrap horizontal. Curowigno hair wrapped is when it is wrapped from the ends to the scalp in overlapping concentric layers. Spiral wraps is where the hair is wrapped at an angle to form a coil, like the grip of a tennis racket is wrapped up or the stripes on a candy cane. Double rod wrap, where you use two rods and do a portion of the hair, secure it, and then do the rest of the hair, is often called a piggyback. We have our basic perm wrap. We have base control and curvature perm wraps. We have bricklay technique and weaving techniques. Sometimes people will get a partial perm. This is used when the entire head is not permed. Long hair on top but short and close on the sides. Some hair is too short to wrap on rods. Sleek crown and curly perimeter may be desired. Volume may be desired in certain areas only, or transition techniques are used. So sometimes it may not be a full head perm, and so at this time we call it a partial perm. There are also perms for men. Many men are looking for added texture, fullness, style, low maintenance that only a perm can provide. Perms look fuller, make straight or coarse hair more manageable, and help control stubborn cowlicks. Techniques are the same, however, whether you're rolling a perm for a man or for a woman. There are all types of precautions that we must follow for safety. You want to make sure that you protect the client's clothing. Remember, for a chemical drape, we do a towel, we do a cape, and we do a towel. Determine if the client has an allergic reaction. You want to make sure that you do a complete hair and scalp analysis. Look at the extent of the hair for any damage. Determine if they've had any prior hydrogen relaxers, hydroxide relaxers, which we'll be talking about in a few minutes. You can perform a metallic salt test. You always want to apply a barrier protective cream. You want to use the perm as directed and keep the solution away from the eyes and the skin. You always follow manufacturer's directions. Wear gloves when applying these solutions. When you have got the solution on the head, make sure you replace the wet cotton and the wet towels, because the chemical will be irritating to the skin if it's left to sit on the skin for any length of time. You want to discard any used products, shampoo and condition with products for chemically treated hair. Metallic salts are not compatible with permanent waving. They leave a coating on the hair that may cause uneven curls, severe discoloration, or hair breakage. Metallic salts are more commonly found in men's hair color that are sold for home use. This concludes our information about perming, and now we will start talking about chemical hair relaxers. Chemical hair relaxer is just the opposite of a permanent wave. For a permanent wave, we are taking straight hair and changing the texture of that hair to curly. For a chemical relaxer, we are taking overly curly hair and rearranging it to become straight or less curly. There are different types of chemical relaxers. We have ammonium thio, guanidine hydroxide, and sodium hydroxide. Extremely curly hair grows in a long twisted spiral or coils. Cross sections are highly elliptical. They vary in shape and thickness along their length. The thinnest and the weakest sections are located at every single twist. With thio relaxers, the main ingredient is ammonium thioglycolate, ATG. We just talked about that during the perming section. The thio relaxers usually have a pH above 10, which means it is highly alkaline. It usually has a higher concentration of ATG. It has a thicker viscosity. It breaks the sulfide bonds and softens the hair. Once we have processed it, the neutralization used with the Thio Relaxer is an oxidizing agent, usually hydrogen peroxide, and the oxidation reaction caused by the neutralizer rebuilds the sulfide bonds that were broken by the Thio Relaxer. You want to follow the same preparation steps as virgin hydroxide relaxers, with the possible exception of a light shampoo before a Thio relaxer. You never perform a shampoo prior to a sodium hydroxide relaxer. Do not forget to perform an analysis of the client's hair and scalp. Remember, these relaxers are at about a 10 on the pH scale, so they are very, very strong. Any cuts or abrasions on the scalp will burn if you do not do your client scalp and hair analysis. Test the hair for elasticity and porosity on several areas of the head. If the hair has poor elasticity, do not perform a relaxer service. We have hydroxide relaxers. Examples of these are sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, lithium hydroxide, and guanidine hydroxide. These are not compatible with Thio relaxers. They have a pH of 13 or more, and they use a process called lanatonization. We have Lye Based Relaxers. These are sodium hydroxide relaxers, also known as caustic soda. They are the oldest and the most common type of relaxers used. They have the same chemicals used in drain cleaners and chemical hair depilatories. Now we have Japanese thermal straighteners. The hair is shampooed and conditioned. The straightener is distributed evenly. The hair is processed to a desired curl reduction. Hair is thoroughly rinsed for 10 minutes. It is conditioned and blown dry. Then the sections are flat ironed. Hair is neutralized and blown dry. In the hydroxide relaxers, we also have metal hydroxide relaxers. These have metals such as sodium, potassium, lithium that is combined with oxygen and hydrogen. Metal hydroxide relaxers include sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, and lithium hydroxide. The active ingredient is the hydroxide ion. No lye relaxers, lithium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide, often are sold as a no-mix, no-lye relaxer. Even though there's no lye, chemistry identical and little difference for their performance. A guanidine hydroxide relaxer is also sold as a no-lye relaxer. The hydroxide ion is the active ingredient. It requires two components to be mixed. It straightens the hair completely. There is less scalp irritation, and it's used for sensitive scalp. They do not reduce hair damage, and they can be more drying to the hair. There are also low pH relaxers. These are ammonium sulfite and ammonium bisulfite, most commonly used. They are compatible with a Thio, but not compatible with a hydroxide. Do not completely straighten extremely curly hair, but you can use the low pH relaxer on color-treated, damaged, and fine hair. You just want to make sure that you constantly watch the hair. A base relaxer requires an application of base cream to protect the skin and scalp during relaxing. A no base does not require protective cream, since they already contain a base cream that melts at body temperature. Protective cream may be applied around the ears and the hairline. It just does not have to be applied on the scalp within the sections. Relaxers come in 3 strengths. You have a mild formula for fine, color-treated, and damaged hair. You have the regular, which is intended for normal hair texture with medium natural curl. And then you have a super, which is for maximum strengthening on extremely curly, coarse hair. You want to make sure that you continue to do periodic strand testing Your processing time varies. You want to stretch the strand to determine if the curl is removed, or you may smooth and press the strand to the scalp. If the strand remains smooth, it is sufficiently relaxed. If the curl returns, continue processing. With a hydroxide neutralization, process does not involve oxidation or rebuilding of the sulfide bonds. The hair remains at a high pH, and an acid-balanced shampoo, or what we call a normalizing lotion, is used. A virgin application of a hydroxide relaxer, you have virgin applications, retouch applications, texturizing services using base cream, protective cream, and normalizing products, and neutralizing shampoo. You also have many safety precautions when using relaxers. Do thoroughly check the hair, analyze, and complete your consultation. Examine the scalp for any type of abrasion. Keep accurate and detailed client records. Have your client sign a release statement. Do not apply hydroxide over thio. Do not apply thio over hydroxide. Do not relax hair that has been treated with metallic dye, and do not relax overly damaged hair. Do not shampoo prior to a hydroxide relaxer. Make sure the hair and scalp is dry. Apply your protective base cream. Wear gloves. Protect the client's eyes. Flush the eyes if the solution touches. Do not allow product to touch the ears, scalp, and skin. If it accidentally gets on it, make sure you remove it immediately. Perform your periodic strand test. Avoid scratching the scalp. Do not overlap relaxer on a hair strand. Adjust the strength for fine damaged hair. Do not remove more than 80% of the curl. Thoroughly rinse the relaxer from the hair and use your normalizing lotion. Use neutralizing shampoo with a color indicator to confirm you have restored the pH. Use conditioner and a wide tooth comb to eliminate excessive stretching when combing the tangles. Do not use hot irons on excessive heat on chemically relaxed hair. For the keratin straightening treatments that contain silicone polymers and formalin, which release formaldehyde gas when heated to high temperatures, do not break bonds. Treatment applied, hair is blown dry, and flat iron is set at 450 degrees to use on narrow sections to polymerize a coating of the hair. It eliminates up to 95% of frizz and curl and will last 3 to 5 months. When you're getting ready to do a keratin straightening, perform consultation and precondition to equalize porosity. Permanent color and highlights, you want to use mild to regular shampoo. For toners or demi-gloss, perform 3 to 5 days after the keratin treatment. If you're doing a curl reform, a thio-based chemical service that reformats curly and wavy hair to looser and larger curls and waves. Reformation occurs by wrapping the hair on rods. Soft curl perms use ATG, again that's ammonium thioglycolate, and oxidation neutralizing, just as thio perm waves do. But there are precautions again with curl reforming. Perform your hair analysis and consultation. Examine for scalp abrasions. Keep accurate, detailed records before and after. Have the client sign a release statement indicating that he or she understands possible risk, and do not apply a hydroxide relaxer on hair that has been treated with a thio relaxer. Do not apply a thio relaxer or soft curl perm on hair that has been previously treated with a hydroxide relaxer. Do not chemically relax hair that has been treated with a metallic dye. Do not relax overly damaged hair. Do not shampoo the client prior to the application. The client's hair and scalp must be completely dry and free from perspiration prior to applying a hydroxide relaxer. You want to apply a protective cream to avoid scalp irritation. Wear gloves If any solution gets in the client's eye, flush immediately and tell the client to see a doctor. Do not allow chemical relaxers to accidentally come into contact with the client's ears, scalp, and skin. Make sure to perform periodic strand tests during the service to monitor the pace of the curl remover. Avoid scratching the scalp with a comb or fingernails. When performing a hair relaxer, be sure not to overlap onto previously relaxed hair. Apply to new growth only. Thoroughly rinse the chemical relaxer from the hair, following your manufacturer's instructions closely when you are applying a chemical relaxer. Use the neutralizing shampoo to guarantee that the hair and scalp has been restored to its normal pH. Products which are used to relax over curly hair are formulated with sodium hydroxide, ammonium thioglycolate, which we call Thio, and acid-based relaxers. Thorough hair and scalp examination and evaluation is critical prior to giving any type of chemical service, including chemical relaxers. You must place the client's safety first and foremost. In addition, through analysis, it will aid you to determine which type of product and what strength of product to use on your client's hair. Chemical relaxing can be done routinely and safely as long as the stylist is careful to follow prescribed procedures and manufacturer's directions and performs frequent test curls during the service to prevent overprocessing.